The first thing I noticed was the smell of boiled linseed and old rain. Not rot, like the building was still trying to finish a job it never completed. I was invited to document the ruins of St. Irenaeus Maternity in coastal Ghana, a place locals called the Lantern Ward because lights once burned there through power outages. Night swallowed the courtyard as I stepped over cracked tiles. My flashlight found a nurse station, enamel trays neatly arranged, a cot blanket pinned with rusted clothespins. Then I heard it. 3 soft taps, a pause, then 3 more, like a knuckle on a door that refused to open. The sound came from the delivery corridor, traveling oddly, too steady, too timed to my breathing. At the far end, the delivery room held a crack scale bolted to the floor with a shallow bowl beneath it. The water was perfectly clear until it shivered in the same rhythm as the tapping. I opened cabinets marked with stitched child's names. Inside were gauze packets tied in identical knots, all oriented toward a window with no glass. Moonlight cut pale bars across the floor. Between them, wet footprints glistened, bare, small, stopping at the doorway, then starting again behind me at the exact spot I'd entered. I spun around. The corridor was empty. The tapping now sounded from inside the walls, fingernails tapping along studs, searching. A watchman had warned me the Lantern Ward didn't close like other buildings. He said it folded inward, like cloth, and when the lights were gone it would use other signals. Water, cloth, sound, to keep time. My phone kept failing to record, but when it finally ran, tiny spikes matched the tapping even after I stepped away. The room changed its smell, sweet and metallic, like pennies in hibiscus. My light landed on an examination stool. A thin, neatly folded fabric strip lay there, warm beneath my fingers without any touch from my hand. It was a baby cap, stitched so perfectly the tag was blank, as if the thread never learned what to write. A tight knot pinched the fabric into a tiny fist. Silence struck so hard I felt it in my ears. In the gap, a distant lullaby seeped through, muffled, older than the building, older than anyone living. I followed it to a narrow stairwell, where dust was disturbed in straight, careful lines, and each landing held a single, wet teardrop-shaped mark. On the second floor, the maternity ward ran long and narrow. Cribs stood in rows with collapsed canopies. Ceiling fans rotated slowly without blades, whirring like breath through reeds. Warm air brushed my face with no source. Floating motes swirled into letters and dissolved before I could read them. I found a doorway labeled Ward for late deliveries. A curtain hung still. Beneath it, a drip line formed, drop by drop landing in an empty bassinet. Each drop matched the 3-beat tapping. A thought hit me. The sounds weren't random. They were responses. The building was answering something that never arrived. I stepped closer and lifted the bassinet sheet. Nothing lay beneath, just a neatly folded towel damp at the center and tiny handprints stamped in condensation on the inside rim. When I squeezed the damp center, water poured out and ran upward, climbing back into the fabric. The curtain quivered though there was no breeze, and a faint light pulsed through the window slats like a reflection from behind the world. In the corridor outside, the tapping grew louder, frantic, stopping directly behind the closed ward door. I stepped back, and my boot hit a plastic hospital tag stamped with a date. The ink looked fresh. I turned it over and saw initials in neat handwriting, then a family name I recognized from a market woman's story. She'd told me her cousin was born during a blackout year, and the hospital lost the paperwork. The baby survived, but the family never received a birth certificate. The curtain dropped in a smooth movement. The latch clicked from inside. My phone flashlight caught a mural under peeling paint. Dates arranged like a calendar, scratched out with fresh lines. Tonight's date sat at the bottom, unslashed, followed by a new wet, gleaming line as if a pen had just moved. The lullaby returned, clearer but distorted, like a recording played through water. I realized it wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from the bassinet itself, under the sheet. I opened my mouth to scream and tasted dust. My throat tightened when my own voice answered, speaking the same words I'd asked during my interview that evening. This was the twist that turned my blood cold. The Lantern Ward had learned my voice. It was using my questions to trigger the next loop. The tapping wasn't a threat. It was a timer counting down to when the paperwork would be completed. A wheeled cart squealed in reverse somewhere in the locked corridor. Then another joined in, clattering, stopping. The room filled with soap and boiled linseed, the scent of new beginnings. The bassinet sheet lifted by itself, forming a clean outline again. Not a body, not a ghost, but a thick, stiff folder pressing up from beneath the fabric. It emerged sealed in translucent plastic like evidence. Inside were documents stamped with my name, my exact spelling, and a signature that looked like my handwriting. My dead phone suddenly began recording on its own. The fans whirred faster. The tapping became a steady knock, and the lullaby guided something toward the door. As the door swung open, corridor lights flared briefly, enough to show the cribs empty and the curtain unmoving, wet footprints lining up in one path. Then the lights died again, leaving only the moon bars on the floor. At the center of the path, there was a new enamel tray waiting, still warm, with a blank baby cap folded on top. The tag was not blank anymore. It had my name, and on the back, a date matching tonight, proof that Saint Irenaeus did not just remember births. It rewrote them using whoever came looking.